Good evening. Welcome to Tewksbury Conservation, January 16th. First order of the agenda is going to be the approval for the minutes of November 28th and December 19th.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Before I start, is there anybody here for a public hearing tonight? Raise your hand. For a public hearing. You here for public? You are? Yeah. You, sir? Anybody else? You, ma'am? You, sir? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. First item is A, continued public hearing notice of intent. Christine Murray, Carol Donald, property investors, 138 Astor Street, map 10, lot 51. Hey, Jimmy, pretty quick. DEP number 305-1062. Would you state your name for the records, sir?
Sure. Jim Hanley with Civil Design Consultants.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's been a while since we were in front of you for this project. I think we filed in August, and we were here in September. We kind of gave you a brief walkthrough about the project that we were proposing at the time, which was a 6-lot subdivision with about 550 feet of roadway, full cul-de-sac at the end. Spent the last few months going back and forth at the planning board hearings, as well as meeting with the town officials during their IDRs, and essentially have kind of minimized the project fairly significantly. The plan, can't really see the plan at the bottom, but I'll kind of walk through it. To kind of show you where we were and where we are now. This was the plan that we presented to you in August or September. Had about 3 acres of disturbed area, 6 lots, 550 feet of roadway, a big pond in the back, kind of wrapping around the 25-foot out of the within the open space, and had about an acre of impervious and about 3 lots, 3 acres of disturbed area. So after going back and forth at the town planning board hearings, we dramatically reduced the size of it. Essentially, there's an existing residence here, which we've designed a private roadway, only 20 feet in width, to kind of snake around the existing residence, and then provide access to 3 houses in the back. We've also gone away from the large cul-de-sac and essentially just have a turnaround big enough for emergency vehicles to be able to serve these 3 houses if and when they would need to. So we went from about 3 acres to about 2.5 acres of disturbed area, reduced our impervious by about 25%, went from 6 lots to 3 new lots plus keeping the house, reduced the roadway by about 1/3. So dramatically reduced the scale and scope of the project. We've increased our buffers a bit, and in essence kind of downsized the pond because now we don't have quite so much impervious. We still are collecting stormwater at the intersection with Astor and then piping it back to a pond here, and that's really just because we have no room along the project frontage to be able to hold the water and then discharge it out. So we really got to get it back here and into this wetland back here. So we met with planning board 3 weeks ago. A couple days before that, we got a letter from DPW. It's a 4-page letter. We're going through it this week. Hope to have revisions back to them by the end of this week, but because we finally have a plan, and we finally have comments, and we're moving everything forward, I figured we'd come to you tonight, at least give you the once-over and see if you have any specific comments that we can address.
That's open statement, huh?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Excuse me, I'm gonna start with the open hearing. Anybody for this would like to come up to the podium and say, come on up, ma'am, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Karen Rogers. My husband and I live at 158 Astle Street, and that's right here. So we're below the new project. Well, the house is going to be in the back of us, but my main concern is the water flow. This is a hill, it's pretty steep. He's got his driveway road coming across the front, which is a little flat, but then it's going to come downhill, make the turn right above my garage. And our main concern is the water. We're pumping water now from our cellar since August because of the rainy season we've had. And over the years, we've been there almost 50 years, so we know what conditions can happen. And over the years, we have made improvements to our property to help solve some of the natural water problems. So I'm looking at water coming down the hill. Now I got a driveway here. There's some trees. It's vegetation trees here, and I can see them all being taken away now. And I don't know how the drainage system he's been talking about would take the water away from coming right down. Also in the back of my house, right here, is swampland, very wet, swampy. I'm actually I feel like I'm in a bowl almost, the bottom of a bowl. This is hill, and the back here is a hill. So I'm right at the bottom. This is very swampy land, has been over the years. Sometimes, like now, there's water out there. Usually, this time of year it would be dry, but because of all the rain. So, and then up above here is the swampland also. The wooded area. We've had a natural wooded area all this time, and now it's going to be all taken away. There's a small herd of deer, many small animals, and I've had 28 species of birds that come out of that area, and I've enjoyed them over the years. But our main concern is the water.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yes, sir. State your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Carl Moore. I live at 121 Sesame Street. I have some concern with the water also. My background is engineering, okay? I'm on a leach field, and sometimes the water table gets so high there that comes up in the invert within 2 inches of coming into my home. Floods the septic tank, backs right up in there. I look at this thing, I see these 3 houses. Now, they all have some runoff off the roof. I don't see any dry wells with the gutters connected to just, take care of that water. Also, we're looking at, I don't know, this thing here is a 72-hour dump to get rid of the water, and that's accelerated runoff. To me, you're going to dump all that water on us. You don't want it up here, but we're going to take it down there. And down here is where we don't need it. Now, I did a project in Woburn right up next to 93, and we put a system in totally underground, big pipe, and all the water goes into that pipe. And it's a storage area, not a storage area, it drains. Eventually goes into the ground. That eliminates the need for this retention pond in the wetlands, which is something we don't need, period. If we could take and have put a dry well system up here, or a good size, the one that I put in down in Woburn, you could walk in the pipe. And it just took all the drainage off the parking lot. Ran right in there and boom, gone. I have effervescence coming up through my basement floor when we get a wet area time in the spring. That is a white foam from water pressure. So any water that comes back in here, I'm afraid, and I've got nobody to go to. At the planning board meeting, I asked them, I said, hey, look, if something happens, can the town give me a letter that's, if I have a problem down the road in 3 or 4 years, can they give me a letter that will say, okay, we'll come in and fix your problem? I said, oh, no, it's up to him. He's the engineer. I said, whoa, wait a minute. In 2 or 3 years, he's gone. I got to chase him. Who's to say he's got money in his pocket to take care of my problem? So I'm kind of left out in left field here. So I'm asking you people to, this piece of property to me should never have been developed anyway. It's a tough one to develop. I understand his frustrations. I don't mind the houses, but I don't want the water. So he's got to, I don't care how many houses he puts in, and I've told him that. But I don't want the drainage to affect myself or this other woman. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? Take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I got a couple of questions, Jim, but
Sure.
with the lady and the gentleman, okay? But I want to hear from the board.
Okay. Well, I would like you to address their concerns.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay, that's thank you, Pat. Looking at your plan here with the 15-inch diameter and showing your flow, which is the top detail on the drawing, okay? The infiltration basin, if you will, looks like the concerns that they were talking about. Looking laterally, what you have going down into your sedimentation basin flow, which is at the bottom, okay, which means the water will be flowing down to that basement and out. Now, I don't know what the calculation of water gallons coming out, but it looks like the flow, the pitch that you got here, looks like it would satisfy what they're talking about. Can you elaborate on that so they can understand?
Sure.
That detail there, because the lady's concerned, the gentleman for their property of the water.
Understood.
That shows a good detail of, I think, what you're trying to move the water from the top going out into the tank, okay? Can you do that, please?
Sure. So, to address both the abutters' questions, I'm just going to kind of like draw on this here a little bit, but Ms. Rogers is right? So we have a slope that basically comes across like this, and essentially it goes from the high side, which is here, to the low side, and she's located down here somewhere, and that's kind of how it goes right now. So if our property line is give or take right here. What we're actually doing with the roadway is we're coming basically 10 feet-ish off of the property line on our side, and we're putting our road in here, right? So this road, in essence, is going to act like a catch-all for any of the water that is coming off of this hill. So currently, the way it drains right now is that you are getting water that's draining off of our site onto your property, over the property line. So we're going to significantly reduce what you get through that area there. And in turn, what we're going to do is we're going to put it directly into that wetland area. And that wetland area has a stream channel that kind of comes across. And so essentially, we took a look, because, you know, Mr. Moore's made his concerns abundantly clear at the planning board, so I wanted to make sure that I kind of had the ability to kind of show them what we are proposing here and how the elevations work. 121? Are you 121? Yeah. So we look at, you know, how the elevations actually work here, and this is just kind of the town topo here and how where our pond sits. But in essence, our pond discharges out at elevation 161.5. And the backyard here around Mr. Moore's house is about plus or minus 170. So we're already downstream of that, almost by 10 feet. You know, and there's always a little play in these numbers based on how they measured whatnot, but we're significantly below in elevation. Where we're going to discharge our pond out is about 10 feet below in elevation. So maybe we're 200 feet away laterally, but it's also 10 feet below. So even a worst case scenario, if we had no pond, what would end up happening is that we would get into the wetland and discharge through the existing stream. Now, Ms. Rogers is a different situation. She is along the street here, and she does have quite a bit of a wetland regime here. But this wetland regime has a stream channel through the center. It might not be a huge stream channel, but there's a channel that basically passes the water out of the wetlands. And then on Astle Street, maybe 100 feet down from her house is a culvert that discharges it out. So what we have to do is we have to look at what's going into this wetland today, and then we have to look at how much impact we have, how much runoff we actually produce. And we have to make sure that we don't increase that. We actually have slight decreases, but we can't increase it. And I actually like Mr. Moore's thought on the pipe in putting this subsurface. The challenge with that is trying to design something that actually meets the standards too, right? So maybe they had different standards where you were working. We have to design to your standards and DEP standards. Something we could possibly do is maybe put a dry well for each of the houses, the 3 proposed houses, and then at least that would help to infiltrate some of that runoff on small storms into the ground.
Excuse me, Jim. So what you're proposing that the established homes that are there, you want to put in dry wells?
Yeah, the 3 new homes, the new homes, not the existing home, because the existing home doesn't have gutters, so that would be hard to catch. And
Excuse me. Your dry wells, what is it, something like maybe 4 or 5 feet deep and probably 3 feet wide, something?
yeah, so they sell those plastic chambers, you know, and we could stick one of those on each corner of the house or every other corner of the house, so we could have, you know, one here and one here and one here and one here. Really, they only handle the real small storm events, but the small storm events are 90% of what we get. So if we can handle those small storm events, it'll just add a little bit to the protection for the people downstream.
So part of the condition would be that you would provide the dry wells for the 2 tenants there.
For these 3, 1, 2, 3, these houses here, and we catch it upstream before it gets down to them,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, fine. And I believe you said that on the left-hand side of the drawing, the elevation was approximately 4 to 8 feet differential in depth? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, yes, yep. And previously, in the plan that we talked about in September, you know, we had 6 lots, we're actually going right up to your property line, within 5 feet, give or take, right? When we laid this out, that was something that we could address, so we're actually about 15 feet, so we're going to maintain about a 15-foot buffer, and that's hard to measure in the field, because trees don't grow in a line, they grow like this, and, but give or take, we're not on your property line anymore, we've kind of tried to provide a decent buffer anyhow.
Okay, thank you. Stefania, excuse me, Pat? One second, ma'am.
If you put the plastic things that you were talking about, what size would they be? Is it going to hold 50 gallons? Is it going to hold 500 gallons?
No, closer to 50 gallons. These are smaller HDP, they're like 3 feet wide, 6 feet long, 18 inches high, give or take. We put them on a bed of stone, and normally what we do is we put them at 2 of the corners, so that we can get the roof leaders to 2 corners as opposed to 4. We put them at 2 of the corners.
So it would be 100 gallons.
Yeah, so basically what we'd want to capture is like the first half inch of a rainstorm. But if you look at like, that's typically what we get, right? We typically don't get 7 inches, which is what we designed the pond for. And those are like catastrophic flooding events. But it's the everyday flooding, it's the everyday storm that we try to design that stuff for.
And the other question I have is, I see here that, is the house that's existing, is that part of the association or is that separate?
That would be, this is an OSRD subdivision, so there's a open space around it, and that lot is not an acre. So if it's not an acre, then it needs to be part of the homeowners association. So the existing home and 3 additional lots will be part of the homeowners association.
So it would be 4 people
Yes.
in the homeowners
Yep.
association?
Yep.
So, as I read here, it says that the septic tank is fine, and why wouldn't we have that hooked up so they're all on the same page?
We are. So that's one of, they asked us to provide stubs, but we're actually going to tie it in.
You're gonna tie it
We're just
in,
an
okay.
oversight on the plan set, so when we resubmit this week, we're going to tie in water and sewer.
Water and sewer,
Yep.
okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a few things. I do want to start by letting everyone know that we do have our engineering department review stormwater to make sure that it's complying with the stormwater standards, so that is something that is looked at through the town. And then my other thing is, we did have Bill Manuel review this. Did you take a look at his letter?
Yeah, I read the email or
Okay.
the letter, yep.
Okay. There are a few comments on that, and a few things that should be addressed. I don't know if you want me to go through all of them, or...
So the one that stuck out to me was the wetland that's located off of our property. They kind of walked that out. So essentially, this wetland line kind of tails like that, I think.
Yep.
So it could have an impact on this lot and where we place that building. But typically, we don't flag or locate off a property because people don't want, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I think the idea was to extend this out and then see how it impacts this.
Yes, so will you be including the new buffer zones on
Yeah.
any
Yep.
revisions?
Yep.
Okay. Just so we can...
But we're going to use Bill and Norse's sketch to kind of
I
extend
think
this.
that's fine.
Okay.
It seemed to just follow the rock wall.
Okay.
So I think that would be all right.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we have those new buffers on the new plans. Okay. And then what about the potential vernal pool?
So the potential vernal pool is a little bit more of a challenge because, again, it's not on our property, right? It's
Okay.
off of the property. We've attempted to reduce the footprint of the development completely already, so I'm not sure how much more we could do to try to offset any of the impacts that might be within the vernal pool buffer.
Okay, he does recommend that you kind of just discuss the potential impacts of this
Okay.
development on that, and I think it should just be kind of looked into
Okay.
to make sure that
Okay.
this wouldn't affect that. I don't know, I mean,
But that's potential, right? So it's potential in the sense
Right.
that they saw it, but it's not mapped, right?
Correct.
Even as potential.
correct.
Okay, okay.
It just has
We
the
wouldn't know.
characteristics.
Yeah, understood, okay.
I don't, and this is just something I'm kind of throwing out there to just think about. I don't
Yeah.
know if it is a potential vernal pool as part of the project, it could be something where we look into kind of certifying it. I know it's kind of a goal in town, so I think that would be something good.
I think
to-
this is your property, right? On this side of the stone wall.
I know
think it's
there's,
town of
at
Tewksbury.
some point,
Yeah.
it's our property.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I would have to look into where it begins.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's just kind of something I was thinking about when I read that. Let's see.
The one other one, Stefania, is the retaining wall.
Oh, yeah.
That's, we basically have it 26 feet off of the
Okay.
wetland line. Again, so we've downsized this considerably, taken about 200 feet out of the roadway, made the roadway 20 instead of 24. I don't have a lot of flexibility here, and I guess I'm wondering if the board would be, because we have made some pretty good size reductions here, would you guys be open to a temporary impact for the construction of this wall? Once we construct it, we could do whatever you want to do, lumen seed it or restore it, however you want to do that. We are going to be 25 feet away, but in order to actually build the thing, probably going to need 5 feet.
Yeah, I can't speak for the board, but just being out on the site and based on his review, there is a lot of junk on the property. So I think that it would be beneficial to, if you needed to encroach slightly to build, then maybe we could have some restoration, like remove some of that junk. I don't know, get rid of some of the invasives. That might be a little bit harder, but it would be up to the commission, though, if that would be something that they would be okay with. And I think the other big thing that Bill and I both kind of were thinking about was just marking out like no disturb zones where it's clear that in the future people will encroach. It just happens in town. So if we could clearly mark those areas and then clearly mark some of the open space, because that's something I see in town too, that people kind of just take over that area as their own property when really it's open space and it's not meant for that. So I think that would be beneficial. And then just my last thing, sorry, there were comments from DEP. I just want to make sure that you are aware and saw them.
So I haven't looked for like the last month. I thought it was.
Okay. I have them. So long-term O&M plan is missing from their copy. Soil logs are missing from their copy, and they need them to verify the separation
Okay.
from mean high water. And then they just say to get credit for street sweeping, it must be aggressive and multiple times a year. I mean, they're pretty
Okay. So
minimal,
it's
but-
paperwork stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is that, Dennis?
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Do you have to blast up there?
Sorry?
Do you have to blast
So
up
we
there?
did, so I would say we're going to have some lead removal.
Yeah.
We got pretty decent cuts, 10 to 12 feet in some locations. We're actually digging test pits tomorrow afternoon, so I'll have a better handle when I come back the next time.
Okay, thanks.
My last question is, as you were talking, I heard potential vernal pool. So there is no vernal pool there right now, correct?
There's no certified
Well, my
matched
question
pool.
actually is where is that potential vernal pool in relation to these two people's homes?
On the other side of our property.
It's on the other side,
Yeah.
okay.
Not on our property, on the abutters, on the other side of our property, on the abutters property.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
You had a question, ma'am?
I did, about the driveway, when there was a plowing situation on that driveway, about the three homeowners gonna be Is there, coming down the hill, all that snow is gonna be pushed down the hill, across the hill, and then up to the houses. I'm thinking all the snow is gonna be piled up at the bottom of the curve, and now I'm gonna have all the snow melt too, to be concerned about.
So we will have, it is private roadway, so the town doesn't maintain it. So the homeowners have to have an association, they maintain it. The only thing I can tell you is I get 15 feet. So if you get a sense for 15 feet, that's like more than half a roadway. So when they push, I don't plow, but when they plow, it's usually like 5 feet, 6 feet off of the curb line. It's kind of where those banks go. So you might have some snow melt, you might have some. But as far as snow getting pushed over, there's still going to be, 10 to 15 feet of vegetation and trees there that would prevent that.
I have another concern about the detention pond. You gotta realize that that is a state house next door to me. There are 3 women that live in there that are being taken care of by other people. That retention pond is, what, 15 feet off the property line, right? And that state house is back right up tight to the property line. So you're introducing maybe a hazard for the people that live in that house. The other thing is, I'm not telling you you can't put it there because you're going by the law. But a good request would be to have it fenced. So these people cannot get into it. All little kids in the neighborhood can't go in there. I don't know how much water is going to stay in that thing, how deep the water is going to be. But as a good precaution, I think we should mandate a fence. Not a big tall fence, but 3 to 4 feet, you know?
Well, I think the fence would be more of the planning board versus the Conservation Commission. I don't know,
I
I
just
don't know,
want to
I
get the
didn't go...
message out.
What's that?
I'd like to get the message out
Right.
now that there's something that should be looked at.
And like I said, I think it's more of a plan. I don't know how you made out with the planning board the other night, or whenever you were there. Did they approve? Did they disapprove?
No. So it's kind of the same thing.
So
We just got the
we're
letter,
still in-
so,
yeah.
yeah. So we're going back. We're going back, I think it's February 4th.
So since we're still going back, I actually like her question. Can we get some type of snow removal plan that this association is going to, are they going to push it into the woods? Are they going to push it out to the street? How is it going to be disposed of? Because if you get 2 feet of snow,
Yeah.
and it's only 15 feet wide, are they going to be forced to remove it through a dump truck, or?
We could do that. We could show you some snow storage areas, but I can tell you what we'd probably show you by default is 5 to 8 feet along the roadway. And any more than that, then we're actually cutting trees down for the potential of getting more snow. So it's kind of like that balancing.
Well, my
Do we want to
question
do that, or?
is snow removal. Not cutting trees down or anything. If we have a snowstorm, okay, you can plow 2 inches of snow to the side of the road, but now you got 2 feet of snow, and it all piles up, and you get 2 feet of snow on top of that. So that's why I want a removal plan. I mean, we require that from some of the businesses in town.
Sure.
You just can't put in, 800 square feet of snow in a 5 square foot lot.
Right, yeah.
So if you can come up with something like that, I think that might alleviate some of your issues. It's just a plan. It wouldn't be mandatory, but some type of plan.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
That's good, but, I think that'll probably go with the motion we're going to present with the intent. And the orders of condition would be the 3 dry wells and also a plan of the snow, so that that you have a plan intact for when and if the snow occurs, that it's going to not impact the residents that are down there. Okay?
Reasonable.
We're going to have the intent and then the orders of condition with those 2. Pat, you want to make a motion on that?
If I
I think we should
could,
make a motion to continue
Yes.
myself.
Yeah, wait, Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think that we have addressed what needs to be
Every issue.
addressed to issue an order of conditions. That's my,
So I will make a motion to continue.
Continue, yeah, okay.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor? What do we get for a,
February 6th.
When is your next planning board hearing?
So it's February 2nd, because there was supposed to be, I think, no, February 4th. It was supposed to be the 28th, but they don't have a quorum, so they kicked it out a week. So do you guys meet prior to that, the 4th of February?
They usually meet the Monday, like they met this past week, I think.
Right,
Our next meeting is February 6th, and then February 20th.
okay. Okay, so we would be meeting with planning board the Monday before you guys, so at that point, hopefully, we've got everything cleaned up.
February 20th?
I think February 6th, right?
February 6th, yeah.
Six, okay. So, Pat, you want to, okay, we're gonna continue this hearing until February the 6th, and as we just described, we'll take in those, the orders of condition with some type of a plan for the bollards
Yeah.
and a snow plan.
Yeah, and we'll show those on the plan, too. So and we'll try to deal with the snow. I'm not exactly sure how we do
Fine.
that, but we'll get something together for that.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Item B, it's going to be public notice of intent for fires, BGOG LLC, 231 Main Street, map 96, lot 53, DEP 305-107.
They're going to be continuing to February 6th.
Oh, she's right here.
She's the next one.
They would like to continue to February 6th.
I make a motion to continue to February 6th.
February 6th.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. So moved. Item C, public hearing, notice of intent, Robert Stevens, Ladder Road, 82, lot 19, DEP number 305-1071. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Robert Stevens.
Hi, good evening. Maureen Harold, Norris Environmental Services. Okay, so we filed a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission for the construction of a single-family dwelling, deck, and driveway. This lot may look familiar to the commission. We were in here last year. We had filed an ANRAD on the property to verify the resource areas. Now, we have a number of resource areas on the property that were verified under the ANRAD. That includes the bordering vegetated wetland. That's shown as the A series on the plan. We have a bank or riverfront area, so essentially the entire lot, almost the entire lot, is located with the inner riparian zone, or within the first 100 feet, and that's colored in purple on the plan. And we also have bordering land subject to flooding, or the 100-year floodplain. And that is at elevation 87.8 feet. Now, the good news is we do comply with the Commission's local setbacks that you do require, which is the 25-foot no disturb and the 50-foot no structure. We are proposing the structure 51 feet away. We are proposing erosion controls on the plan. Because this lot is located within the floodplain, it needs to be elevated on piers. So that's the proposal that's in front of you tonight. We're proposing 6.7 cubic feet of floodplain alteration and providing 225 cubic feet of compensatory storage. Open it up to the commission.
Anybody here for a public hearing? Would you kind of step up, state your name for the record, please?
If you could just use the microphone.
So I'm assuming, looking at this, I don't know if any of you guys have gone out to see this, or if you guys even do that, take a site visit to see the area, but it's all, little area here is cleared, and the rest of it's all trees, and behind that is water. If it's the Shawshene River then goes back here, all along, past here, then drains into, I call it like a little creek or a little stream that has flooded. It was 2010 when we had that big flood and the Brown Street Bridge was closed. So this whole area flooded, the house here flooded, all back here through the woods flooded, through the stream. My house was set back, it didn't flood, but I had to pay a surveyor to come out to take me off of the flood map because they said it was. So they said that my property is on the flood zone, but not my physical building. So when you look at this, I don't know how they're going to build what they're proposing in this area where it is. They're going to have to remove a lot of trees. Also in California, there's a little bit of a hill. There's no, I guess, the store drains where the water would go into, so all the water from the street runs down. It's also corroded this area just because there's so much water come down the road. My concerns are, where's all that excess water going to go when they're doing all the construction? What's going to prevent, this gets very high. I've had actually builders come down that area and they're like, we're not building here, you can't build here, it's going to be, all this water. So I don't know how it's not going to flood if you start disturbing all that land. And then where is all the excess water going to go? And then when you remove all the trees, to me, they're probably 100-foot trees, they're huge trees. To me, those trees all suck up water. What's going to happen to all that water now that those trees aren't sucking up? Like I said, it just, this whole thing goes all the way around here, and I've seen it flood myself, and I know the house, fortunately they couldn't be here, that sits right here. They've flooded probably 5 or 6 times just in the time that they've been there, just because this water gets high. It might be a little bit low now, but probably after Sunday storm, when you go there, the water's going to be up over the land. That's my concern. My also concern is on the road, even though, whatever they say, it's a 30-foot road, when they did the sewer pipes back in 2008, this end of the road, of California Road, isn't as wide as the beginning of the road. So my concern, too, is where are they going to put, they're going to have to take out the trees, but where's all that equipment going to go into the trees? In this house here, the road goes right into the house, so it's wherever, I guess it's right here where their technical property line ends. But then it's their driveway, so I don't know where, any of that, what's going to happen with all of that. And I wasn't going to bring up snow, but I'm going to bring up snow because they brought up snow. Like, where is all this excess snow going to be going now on the street? Currently, where they do it, right or wrong, is the fire hydrant is here, and it's probably his land is a little bit, is it just cleared, and that's where they just dump all the snow because there's just no place on the street to put it. And then if they do put it elsewhere, what's going to happen, like they said, when the water all starts to melt. I don't want my house now to end up being put in a flood zone because of a house that's being, built there, and I'm just not sure why, after all these years of an empty lot, it's decided now that it's time to build it. And I guess some of the other concerns I probably would have to take up to the Board of Appeals when they go for a variance. Although she did say that she thought that they might have already had a variance, which
Right, so we had spoke earlier, and I was under the impression that a variance was given for the front yard setback. The town requires 25 feet, and this house is proposed 16.5 feet. And I think I misunderstood the engineer because a variance wasn't ever granted, is that right? Okay.
We haven't gone in front of the Board of Appeals.
Okay. So we need to go in front of the Board of Appeals to move the house forward to meet your setbacks. Do you want me to address some of the questions she has? Okay. So when we designed this project, we tried to minimize the amount of disturbance. So we're staying underneath we're at the 5,000 square foot threshold. There's actually exemption in the Wetland Protection Act that states that if a lot was created before August 7th, in 1996, we do have the right to develop the lot as long as we can comply with the local setbacks. So in light of that, we did try to minimize as much disturbance as possible, therefore minimizing the number of trees to be cut down. We're providing the 25-foot no disturb, so we can't cut within 25 feet of the wetland, so that'll limit the amount of trees taken out. The limit,
I'm sorry, but when you're saying like the 25, because basically this little area here is clear and the rest is all trees in the back. So is it going to be that the house is built and the whole backyard is just going to be full of trees? None of those trees would be touched? Like I know Genevieve's here, there's all trees here, so I know where that, I know where that line goes across. But even over this way, it's trees.
see on that plan where there's an orange line and it says proposed tree line behind the house?
Yeah.
That's the tree line that we're proposing. That's where it's going to go. So everything beyond that and towards the wetland will stay.
So 25 feet from the house or the deck that you propose to put on there is going to be 25 feet of backyard, and then it's going to be all.
The trees will remain, correct.
But all these trees here will be all taken out.
Yes, correct.
And then where's, I'm sorry, but like, where's all that excess water that those trees would absorb? Where is that going to end up going?
It's going to go in the same place that it goes now. We're well aware that this lot's within the floodplain. The floodplain, the 100-year floodplain is at elevation 87.8 feet. We're proposing to raise the dwelling above that by 4.7 feet. So it'll basically be on columns.
The house would be, but with the work that you're going to do to dig down and put those pilings in and to clear all those trees, that's going to affect the whole area that then now it's going to, my concern is now it's going to start flooding and it's going to come, even more. Like I said, this goes all the way around to the back, down by Illinois, through the back, then there's, where Illinois is, so California, and then there's a paper road here, I can't think of it off the top, Michigan, and then it's Illinois, so it goes all the way back to the back. So like I said, this whole area, has had water come up, the way then it is on the other side, just in, there was a lot of rain or a lot of snow. So
Right.
taking out of that area where like the dirt was stuck up. Where is, like, my thing is, where is that going to go? And also when the water comes down, and, where there was dirt or sand, the whole dirt that might have absorbed it, now that's going to be gone because the house is going to be there. So
It's going to flow underneath the house.
you're going to absolutely guarantee that that's not going to affect any excess water going into anybody's house in that area.
We can't create any more water on anybody's land, and essentially what we're doing is we're complying with the regulations in terms of the 100-year floodplain. So we're elevating the house up and out of it.
Well,
to-
that would protect that house, but how would it protect the houses that are already there that could be affected? Like I know, like I said, this house here.
That whole area floods. That entire area floods, like you stated. And it's going to continue to flood, whether there's a house here or not.
Taking away the vegetation, that might take up that. That might take up, maybe it only takes up 20 gallons of water, but it's still, that's 20 gallons of water that's now not going to be able to get it. Because I've seen the little, like I said, the little creek behind my house. I've seen, when it's dry, it's dry. When there's rain, it can be like 5 feet. So when they did put the sewer lines down, Genevieve, up to here, where the creek was, up there, here, when there's no water, through the
In terms of the snow, I believe this is a accepted roadway from the town, and,
Genevieve, are you?
or California Road.
The town takes care of the street.
They plow it. Right, so
Where would the snow go if they do it?
that's a question for the town, because the town can't plow it on your property, or this person's property, or the adjacent property, so honestly, I'm not sure where they plow it.
But I believe Genevieve Road is a paper road.
Yes.
They won't be plowing Genevieve Road. That's going to stay the
I
same.
mean, we actually, when they put down the, when they did the sewer, they ripped up the road, took down the trees and lawn, and we just keep up the lawn, take care of the, mowing of it. So, nothing, it's just lawn on that part. On this part or across this way on Genevieve, just all lawn, where they took
So
down
the
the
only
trees.
road they're going to plow, which wouldn't change, is California Road.
Right, but now.
That's correct.
I guess I'm just asking, like, where does the snow go? There's no.
Same place it goes today.
Well, it goes right over here where this, in this little area right here, but now that's gonna be his driveway.
It can't go there
Yeah,
if we get the permit.
yeah.
With the board now to get their remarks.
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, all right. You want me to sit down? Okay.
No, I was just trying to answer a question.
Yeah, with the snow,
And
right.
the snow is the snow, it's still the same street, whether there's more impervious, it's still the same. If you
Right.
get a foot, it's going to be the same, it's not going to change.
You're not gonna change, no.
Yeah. My question also is, it just says proposed water service, proposed sewer service. Now, this is getting hooked into the town, correct?
That's correct.
No septic tanks or anything else like that, okay. And you still have to go for the variance on the 16.5 feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then when are we going for the variance?
We haven't filed yet.
You haven't filed?
No.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
You have any dates when you're gonna file?
If we have to file, we'll file as soon as possible.
Stefania?
So the 6.7 cubic feet of flood storage lots, can you just explain where that's coming from? I don't think it explained that. Is it just the pilings of the house and of the deck?
It's more or less the timber stairways that'll be going up to the house in front of the walkway, between the walkway and the house. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking out some area for the driveway. You can see the 85 contour taking forward towards California Road. Right, so we're gaining the compensatory storage there. We're putting the walkway at grade so that wouldn't fill any floodplain. So it's basically for that timber stairway that's proposed to access to the front door.
Okay. Now, proposed flood storage in a driveway, that's just something I've never seen before. How does that work? Does it function as a normal flood storage?
So the 85 contour is brought forward, so we're actually digging down for the driveway, and we're putting it below grade.
Okay.
So that's what gains you that, 225 cubic feet of compensatory storage. And that's to offset the stairway going into the house.
Okay. Now, so I guess what I'm asking is, I've just never seen a driveway proposed as the compensatory flood storage area, so I just want to confirm that, I mean, that's something that will function.
Right.
Okay.
It's more of a volume, a cubic foot volume that you need in order to count the compensatory storage. So if we take that volume out and we can put the driveway down, that'll accomplish that.
Okay. Let me see here. Now, so you are proposing the 225 of the flood storage. So where it's proposed, I'm just looking at your table, so where it's proposed at the 85.5 elevation, and then reading the table, it reads that the rest is 0. So is
Right.
that going to meet the foot-by-foot requirement of the performance standards?
Right, so that meets it for this stairway, and I can have the engineer break it down further. In terms of the actual columns or the piers that the house will be elevated on, there isn't compensatory storage provided for that. And the reason for that is that we have, in the past, on different projects with DEP finds that it's de minimis, meaning it's so small, the area that the columns are on, that it's not necessary to provide that compensatory storage. So that is not provided for the columns or the piers the house will be on.
And then I'm sure this is a no, but there's no way to scale down the proposal. I do see there's a large deck, not that that's, I mean, not that that's a huge disturbance, but it is kind of a pretty big deck that it's the length of the house. I just want to confirm that there's nowhere that we could size down.
So the house is 26 by 36, so it's a little bit, it's about 1875 square feet, the house size itself, which is a modest-sized dwelling. It's under 2,000 square feet. We wanted to provide a deck just to have a little more outdoor living space, if you could. The driveway is 20 feet wide. I feel like that's modest as well. We really did try and shrink the footprint as much as possible and stay at that 5,000 square foot threshold. The entire parcel's 36,000 square feet. I mean, I know obviously we can't use much of it because it's wetland and riverfront and so forth, but we did try and minimize the area as much as possible.
Now, how would you feel about some kind of like ongoing condition of no future expanding? Because I feel like we've kind of maxed out at this point anyways. So that's just kind of my thoughts of something we might want to
I
consider.
would be okay with that, yes.
Okay. Oh, that's all I have.
Thank you. Dennis?
No, you did say town water, town sewer, right?
Yes.
I'm good.
No comments.
I don't think they have to rip up the road. It's probably very, very minimal. Because if you look at where the sewer is going in, I don't know how far the sewer line comes down, but it looks like to this plan that it stops right in the middle of California Road.
Right.
I don't see much of a disturbance there.
No.
They're just going to have to cut a hole in and tie the sewer in. I don't know if there's a cap there. There must be some. Do you have town sewage? You don't. Does anybody on your street have town sewage? They do. So this looks like if you're further down the street, this is like, that's the end of the line right there. Right.
Set back further.
I don't see any major disturbance on that road for
I would have
that.
stubbed that off anyways.
Yeah.
You want to continue this?
Up to the board if they feel
I
that
think it has to be continued because of the fact that we're still on the 16.5 feet and we're going to the Board of Appeals or whatever we're doing for the variance.
You know, wait a minute. Yeah, Pat, also, the other comment is the variance permit. They don't have that either yet. It's variance.
Right.
It's gonna go
Well, that's
for
what I was
permit.
just saying.
Yeah.
He needs to get the variance so he comes back because...
Come back with all that.
We'll be voting on something that...
Well, right, if he doesn't get the variance, obviously,
Then it
he
changes
can't build
things.
the house
Right.
in this location.
Correct.
So it's fair to say that we can continue this, we'll get a date in a minute, and then you could do your variance, and what we just comment now, you've been making your notes.
Yeah.
And then we can schedule for people to come back in again sometime in
Okay.
February. Is that fair enough?
I think so. Do they meet once a month? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
The Board of Appeals?
Yes,
It's once a month.
it's once a month,
The
so,
last Thursday of the month.
okay. What is
So
it?
if it's the last Thursday of the month,
January?
I would recommend that you come back on the second meeting in February.
Okay, let's plan on
I think that would
that.
make more sense, give you time to,
To get-
I mean, how long does it
Hey,
take
yeah, I think
the
so,
Board of Appeals to hear a case?
February 20th back there. Good, I won't get date back.
February 20th.
How about February 20th?
We'll take February 20th. Thank
Okay,
you.
So, for the record, we're going to continue, and upon discussion, February the 20th, and upon what we just said, variance and other matters that we'll be taking the notes, that we'll need to come back. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time.
I was just going to ask about the abutment. Did she had said the abutment list was 100 feet of it? You know, within 100 feet of it. I was notified. 30 feet, like is it? So I'm just trying to.
There should be, you have a certified
No, she
abutters
had,
list
no, no, she had showed me who the assessment gave her, but I guess.
And the other thing too is, I think what I'd like to see, 1 minute, man, what I'd like to see is a site plan open up so we can get a better eye pictorial where the lady's home is, to the right-hand side of that plan. Can you get some type of a plan so we can see where she was describing to the right there, where her home is, okay?
I think she's south of Genevieve Street where that paper street is, but you want like an aerial photograph?
1 minute, ma'am.
Oh, I was going to say,
Yeah.
my house is right
Yeah.
When Genevieve comes here, my house is more in the back, and this runs all the way to the back.
1 minute, ma'am. So we get a better pictorial of the area that we're speaking on, that she's concerned with her home.
Okay.
So the board, right now, it's all hearsay where it is.
Right.
So can you get something we could see it?
I'll get some sort of
Yes.
aerial photograph and,
That'd be appreciated, yeah.
not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is D, extension request orders of condition, Tewksbury Town Engineering Division, Pinnacle Street, map 91, lot 13, DEP 305-1002. State name, project, please.
Good evening, Andrew Stack, Tewksbury DPW Engineering Division. I'm here to request a extension, a 2-year extension to an order of conditions for DEP File 305-1002, which is the Pinnacle Street Culvert Head Wall. This is a culvert on Pinnacle Street right near the Andover Town Line, in between the Town Line and Dunvegan Road. One of the head walls failed, and this project was to, for the purpose of replacing that failed head wall. The 3-year order of conditions is going to be expiring in March. The work hasn't begun on this project yet. The project went out to bid, and the bids came in too high for what the town budgets could allow for. So we're going to be putting it out to bid again sometime in the future, possibly this year, possibly next year. We honestly don't know at this point yet.
Okay, so it's fair enough that you will be notifying Stefania when you're gonna come back in again.
I'm sorry?
Notify her what your dates are for your project.
We don't know when the project is going to occur. It's not scheduled for construction yet. This order of conditions will basically allow the town to construct it sometime in the future. It's not planned to go out to bid at this point, though. But the order of conditions expires in a month and a half.
Fine.
So we just need a motion to extend.
Yeah.
For 2 years, correct.
So I have no questions, but I'll make that motion.
Stefania?
No concerns.
I'm good.
We'll do, we say extend, when do we go for a date?
2 years, and that would be March 3rd, 2021.
March 3rd, 2021. Okay. Okay,
Should be 2022, right? That's 3 years. It's 19 now.
2-year extension.
Oh, I thought he was asking
No,
for 3 years.
I think I wrote the wrong.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. So it's going to be March 3rd, 2021. You agree with that? Okay. Take a motion on it.
So moved.
Please, say, so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, we got the Conservation Trust request, MAC Annual Conference. Stefania.
So the MAC conference is coming up in March. If anyone's interested, I would like to attend, and it costs $125, and I was hoping to get that from the Conservation Trust Fund.
When is that, Saturday?
Yes, it's a Saturday. I have the date.
Usually,
I'll make the motion to approve the $125.
I'll second that.
second, all in favor? Aye. So move. Okay, so far, Stefania, you don't want to go. You're going?
I would like to.
Okay, and, Steve is not here, so that at the next meeting, we ought to bring that back up.
Okay.
At the end, see, maybe Steve might want to go. I'm going to check my calendar, see. Any other members, at that point in time, we can step forward. Okay? Entertain a motion, wait, old business?
None?
New business we just covered? Administrator's report?
Yes, I do have. So I'm passing out a letter. If anyone remembers, we had an enforcement order come through maybe a month or so ago at this point, 3 Bailey Road, for some clearing, possibly within the wetlands. So they have, at this point, hired Norse Environmental to find the wetlands and determine the extent of the violation. But at this point, the ground is kind of hard, and they cannot auger into the soils. So they just wanted to update the commission, let them know that they were hired, but they will need to wait a little bit until they're able to flag the wetlands and determine exactly where the violation occurred.
Comments, Pat?
You have none.
Dennis?
I'm good.
No comments.
I'm fine.
I have one more update, sorry. So if anyone remembers 172 Ferncroft Road, this was an enforcement order, a notice of intent, and then another enforcement order, the one where we never got a DEP number, to write an order of conditions. So at this time, DEP has decided to work with the residents to come up with a revised plan. So they are working with DEP. They will eventually submit a notice of intent to us with new plans. It's going to be under the old notice of intent, though. So once DEP is okay with the plans, they'll issue a DEP number, and then the applicant will submit plans to myself, and then they'll come back for a hearing. They'll have to re-notify abutters. They'll have to post it in the paper again, but I just wanted everyone to know that that's kind of what has happened at this point. So the enforcement order is kind of tabled at this moment. So they haven't removed any fill, but they are not supposed to right now.
This is the American marketing thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So just so everyone's aware, if anyone has questions, they can ask me. And then I have one permit I need a signature on, and I just want to remind everyone about the conservation restriction if they haven't come in to sign. It's in the town clerk's office.
Okay. So entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening.